votes for. It's not Mitch McConnell who has to make the trouble. It's really just, 41 Republican senators, and that's a very likely circumstance. But you have in the 3 or 4 Republican senators right now who look like very strong possibilities in joining Democratic legislative initiatives, and so there's a stronger possibility of compromise in this Senate than we have seen at any moment in the last 4 years. And Joe Biden goes into this job with more advantages than Lyndon Johnson did. Joe Biden was not the majority leader of the Senate as Lyndon Johnson was, but Joe Biden worked in the Senate much longer than Lyndon Johnson, actually knows the modern Senate much better than Johnson even could have known his own Senate at that time. And the Senate is far more complicated now than it was when Johnson was both a senator and president. There was no budget committee then. No one knew how much anything cost. You could pass bills and no one would say how much does it cost. The budget rules alone in negotiating things through the Senate are so complex that there are very few presidents who have really deeply understood them. Biden does, so he knows the world of the possible more clearly than anybody could legislatively. And Biden has another huge advantage over Lyndon Johnson. Everyone he worked with in the Senate likes him. Likes him as a person. And I'm afraid that was not true of Lyndon Johnson.
I hear that. So one last question for you, Lawrence. You just mentioned the budget, and that brings me to exactly what I wanted to ask you. When Bernie Sanders, as head of the Budget Committee, that strikes me as a very big deal. Is it a very big deal? And in what way could that wind up being a big deal for the American people and for what can happen legislatively?
It certainly helps for Senator Sanders' prominence in the debate, but the budget
certainly are. Well, look, the history will look back on this day as when Donald Trump ceased to be president and Joe Biden began to be president, and that is a very, very big deal for a lot of obvious reasons. And so that alone, I think, creates a sense of not just moment, but a sense of Harris walking on the inside camp and President Biden. But it just befits the thought. Getting everybody on the same page, agreeing what truth is an essential first step as President Biden tries to heal the country. We have to agree on a single reality, and right now we do not.
Eugene, to your central critical point, to that critical phrase in the president's speech, it would not have been necessary to mention that democracy has prevailed were that not an open question a few days back and for months and years in the lead up to this. We see the new head of our government, the new president, the new vice president. We saw they were preceded by majority and minority leaders of the House and Senate, Speaker of the House, and minority leader in the House. And let's open our microphones and take this scene in.
Well, President Biden and the First Lady and Vice President and the second gentleman, normally at this time we have a lunch, and probably no person alive has attended more of those lunches than President Biden has. It's an important moment where it's bipartisan. It's the time to bond between the executive and the legislative branch of the government. We probably don't need as much bonding because we already have that natural bonding with you and the traditions here. Those traditions, usually there's a painting at the front of that event that the chairman picks. This time, not knowing we were going to have an event until what we were going to do about an event until late, I asked Dr. Biden to help pick the painting, and this is the one that she recommended. The painting is landscape with rainbow. Rainbow, always a good sign. It's loaned to us for today from the Smithsonian American Art Museum. The artist, Dr. Robert Sheldon Duncanson, he was the best-known African-American painter in the years surrounding the Civil War. He was based in Cincinnati.
encouraged by abolitionists who, among other things, sponsored a trip for him to do some study in Europe. This is a painting that he painted in 1859, and I think maybe it is sort of the classic America as a paradise painting that a lot of painters were doing then. But for him, a black artist painting this painting that's so much like an American utopia, on the verge of a war that we would fight over slavery, makes all of that, I think, even more interesting in that while he faced lots of challenges, obviously was optimistic even in 1859 about America. And so, Dr. Biden, thanks for helping select this painting, and glad to have all four of you here as we move on to my good friend Senator Klobuchar.
I like the rainbow.
The rainbow is always a good sign. Let's hope so.
Thank you.
On behalf of the American people, it is our honor to present these custom-made crystal vases commemorating your historic inauguration. Lennox, which you know is a great company, American company, has handcrafted these gifts for the past 9 presidential inaugurations. It is a good thing I don't have to hand them to you personally. They each weigh, with the vase, 32 pounds, but combined 64. But Jill, I know, is very strong and could take them both. Exactly. But the Lennox company is actually based in Bristol, Pennsylvania, which you know, Mr. President, is a mere 132 miles from Scranton, since we know today all roads lead to Scranton. The team at Lennox has worked for months to capture the spirit of this inauguration and your incoming administration. Mr. President, your vase features the White House, and Vice President Harris's features the U.S. Capitol. The gifts represent the hope and the faith the American people have placed in you to move our country forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Vice President, while the pandemic has sadly limited our usual hospitality, as others mentioned, I'm very glad we still carry on some of our favorite inaugural traditions. It's my honor and privilege to help present these flags of our nation that were flown over today's event here at the Capitol. Now, I have to make one point of personal privilege on behalf of the Senate. With all due respect to our distinguished Speaker and our colleagues from the House, I have to note, not only did we just swear in a son and daughter of the Senate to these houses, but indeed both these former senators skipped the House altogether. The Star-Spangled Banner is our greatest symbol of our endurance of the American idea. It flies over this building on triumphant days and on tragic ones, over all factions and all parties. And today this flag flew over our former colleague's inauguration as the very first female Vice President of the United States. So to our very distinguished former colleague, Madam Vice President, please accept this flag with the highest compliments and congratulations of the United States Senate.
Pointed out that he has hosted this lunch for members of the Senate who have become president and vice president. But I have the privilege of giving a flag to the President of the United States, the flag that was flown when you were sworn in, Mr. President. This flag may reflect all that is said about your inauguration. America united. May it be a symbol of the hope, the healing, and the just all of the enthusiasm that you have for our country. And as we heard the beautiful national anthem, when we're at the stadium and they say, is our flag still there? Then you say, play ball. Right there. play ball. So we're going to play ball. We're ready to go with the inspiration of our flag flying. But again, on behalf of the House of Representatives, it is my privilege to extend to you the flag that was flown the early moment that you were sworn in as President of the United States. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dr. Biden. Thank you. If we had the lunch, we would have had California wine. Is that not right? Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, congratulations. With liberty and justice for all. Thank you.